If you haven't been here, if you haven't been at Continuum so far, this is where we're at. We started with creation, obviously. That's where it begins. Just open it up at the beginning and how God created everything, and made us as the cap of all creation, kind of put us as the cherry on top of all of it, and just said, we are very good, you are very good. I want to have a relationship with you. I want to know you. I want you to know me. And it was all perfect. It was all good. And then a couple weeks ago, we talked about the fall and how real quickly that perfect creation went really bad, really fast. Okay? You guys have these white strings on. They're hanging on the yellow string right now over here. At the fall, you guys had to take those white strings off and give them away as a representation of that life that you lost. The perfect life, the perfect relationship that you lost and can no longer get back because of sin. Because sin has happened. And it has ruined our relationship with God. Alright, so that's where we're at. So I kind of want to, just real fast, in between that moment and the moment that we're at today, a lot of bad stuff starts to happen. It's kind of a low point in human history, kind of a low point in all of humanity. Genesis 4 through 11. Just a lot of bad things happen in Genesis 4 through 11. A lot of violence, a lot of killing, a lot of just sin of all sorts, a lot of bad stuff going on. Okay, nothing really good occurs in that time. All right, really a low point for humanity. I want to tell you guys about a low point in my life. I was raised, I grew up being taught not to say cuss words, and I don't know if y'all were like that, but I just always learned that was a bad thing to do, right? We don't say certain words. They're just like a list of words, and you kind of learn what these words are over time. Maybe you hear them on TV or in a movie or something, but you know these are words we don't say, right? Y'all follow me. We have words that we don't say. Well, 6th grade kind of changed that for me. I don't know if it changed that for any of you guys. I'm guessing that it probably did. Middle school kind of changes our vocabulary some. So, like I said, I was raised not to say certain words, right? I had the idea of what words I could and could not say. Well, I'm in 6th grade, and I was living in Jasper County at the time. We were going to school, and we're changing classes, and this was actually really big, middle and high school. It was everybody was in one school, so there's a lot of people, always pretty crowded. So we're changing classes. We're going in between classes. I had to walk outside to get to my next class, right? So I'm walking outside, and I had on this book bag, and we didn't have the money, I guess, to get me a really good, but I had one of these old junky book bags. All right, it wasn't a nice Jans. Is Jans Sports still a thing? Yeah. That's still have, okay, cool. I didn't know if that was still a book bag that y'all were. But that was the book bag, I didn't have one of those. I had this old junky book bag. It didn't work good. So it would break all the time. And I didn't like to go to my locker because, like I said, it was always really crowded there. It was middle and high school. I was a short little scrawny dude. I just didn't feel like fighting for the locker, so I always had all my stuff in my book bag, crammed in there. So I'm changing classes, I'm walking out, and my book bag just busts open. Right? It just busts open, all my books, everything that I had just falls out on the concrete outside, and everybody starts laughing at me. All my friends are on there all your stuff fell out. And I just all at once, man, this just rage, boiled up inside of me, and I just turned around, everybody's laughing at me, and I yelled one of those words. I'm going to tell you which word I yelled. But I yelled one, and it just came out of me. It was this moment where, and everybody kind of knew, Kurt doesn't say bad words. Kurt's a pretty good kid. And I was. I was a good kid, and I didn't say these words, but this word just boiled. Y'all ever have that moment? Anybody? Let's be real. Okay? We have those moments, and this word, I was just blah! And I said it. And it got, really quiet. It really did. Everybody was whoa. And even me, I was scared. I didn't know what I thought was going to happen. Up until that point, everything just was ruined for me. You know what I mean? I grew up not saying these things, and all of a sudden I said it. And I was I don't know what I thought God was going to do. Because you have spoken this word, you are banished from, I don't know what I thought was about to happen, but I was freaking out. I was wow, I said it. And it really was a super low point in my life, and I just remember thinking, I'm a bad kid. I'm a bad kid now. I was a good kid up until that point, but now I'm a terrible person. You know what I mean? I'm saying the words that my life is PG-13 right now. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, this is bad. I was really worried about it. And I didn't know how God was going to respond to that, but I knew how I was responding. I was afraid. And we talked a couple weeks ago about this idea that whenever sin kind of comes into our lives and happens, and you guys know how this works, you feel ashamed, right? You feel afraid, and you hide. That's what Adam and Eve did. They hid. And we kind of have these moments. Well, this is kind of where humanity's at, okay? Genesis 4 through 11, after the fall happens, just a lot of bad stuff is going on. Like I said, a lot of murder, a lot of just bad things going on. It actually says in there that the earth, that human beings in the world, every inclination of their hearts was only evil all the time. That's how it describes humanity in Genesis 4 through 11. Every inclination of their hearts and their minds was only evil all the time. That's pretty bad. Like, that's a rough state of the world. Okay? So God, like, what does God do? That's the question. Like, what does God, how does God respond to this? All right? Does he just kind of throw in the towel and go, you know what, forget all of this. I don't even care anymore. I'm just going to end it all. Well, he gets really close with the story that we know about Noah, right? He says, you know what, I just take it all away. Like, we're gonna. But even that, like, he didn't give it all away, right? He found one man and his family, Noah. He said, you know, this guy has found favor with me. I'm going to save him. I'm going to save his family. I'm going to put them in this boat. I'm going to save kind of all the animals through him. And we're going to keep this thing going. Okay? And he makes Noah a promise at the end of that. The rainbow's on the wall over here because the rainbow's kind of the sign of promise. But he makes Noah this promise just to say, look, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to destroy the earth with a flood ever again. You have my word on that. Okay? It's kind of one of the first promises that God makes. But really the guy we're going to talk about today is this guy named Abram. Abram. You guys know him as Abraham. But before his name was Abraham, his name was Abram. That was his original name. So what does God do when we get to this point in humanity where it's just this low point? It's just this terrible point. Everything's going bad. Everybody's doing bad stuff. Does God throw in the towel? No. What he does is he calls out this guy named Abram and he makes him a promise. That's what he does. He makes him a promise. So if you have a Bible, if you have a Bible app or something like that, Genesis 15, that's where I'm going to go. That's where we're at this morning, Genesis 15. All right, you guys just hold on to your note card. So if you wrote some kind of promise you've broken, some kind of lie you've told, because I want you to remember that we are promise breakers, okay? That's who we are. As people, we break promises. Not God, us. All right, we're the promise breakers in here. So have that on your card. Just hold on to that for a minute. Genesis 15. Genesis 15. Verse 1 says this. So I'm going to, just real quick. In Genesis 12, God meets up with Abraham. He tells him, Abram, I'm going to give you this land, okay? And I want you to go to this land. I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to give you all these descendants, and I'm going to bless the entire world through you. That's what he tells him. Genesis 12:3. I'm going to bless the entire world through you, Abram. That's the promise that he makes to Abram. That rain sounds awesome. So he tells him that. I'm going to bless the entire world through you. So the next few chapters is Abram moving around to where God tells him to go. Okay, and then in chapter 15 it says this. This is verse 1. After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. All right, I want you to hear exactly what God is saying to Abram and why he says it. God wants Abram to know that even though what's going on in Abram's life right now doesn't seem to make any sense, because again, Abram was a guy who didn't really know God, all right? He was just a random dude. And God kind of pulled Abram out and he was like, all right, look, dude, I want you to go way over there. It's about a, 400 or 500 mile trip. All right, I want you to walk kind of south, kind of west, go down there to this land I'm going to show you. I want you to walk around this land. I want you to understand that I'm going to give you this land. I'm going to give all your descendants this land. And I'm going to bless everybody in the whole world for all generations to come through you. And Abram's like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why are you even doing this? What is this all about? So God shows up to him again in chapter 15. He says, look, here's what I want you to know first about me. I am your shield, your very great reward. Why does he say that to Abram? And I really want you guys to get this point, okay, about God and how God relates to us and how God wants us to see him. He says that to Abram because he wants him to know this, that he, God himself, is the prize that Abram is going to get in the end. God is the prize. God is the prize. Because here's the thing. It's like God is saying to Abram, at the end of all this, the reward that you're going to get is going to be greater than all the descendants that you have. All right? It's going to be greater than all the cows and all the sheep and all the cattle that you have. It's going to be greater than that. It's going to be greater than all the land that you can acquire, that you can get in this world. That reward is going to be greater than that. Your reward is going to be greater than anything you can imagine or anything that you already have in this world. You know what, Abram? You want a son. You want me to give you a son? Your reward is going to be greater than the son that you're going to have because your reward is going to be me. I'm going to give you me as a reward. That's what you're going to get. Here's the thing, guys. I think that we miss out on a lot of the amazingness of the relationship that we can have with God. I think we miss out on that a lot of times for this reason, because we see God as kind of a means to an end. And this is what I mean by that. This is what I mean. Like, you kind of see your relationship with God as a way to maybe feel better about yourself. Right? Maybe you've made some mistakes in your life and you come to church sometimes and then you go, you know what, if I kind of follow God or do the church thing or whatever, like, I'll just feel better about myself. Right? I won't feel so bad about some of the things that I've done. Or maybe you see God in a way that it's like, you know what, I just want to feel like a good person. Okay, so I'm gonna follow God. I'm gonna kind of do some of that stuff, and God will be my way of helping me feel like a good person. That's your prize. Feeling like a good person. That's your prize. You know? Or maybe your prize is, you know what, I just want a blessed life. I want a life that's, maybe I want to make a lot of money. I want to have like a good house and a good family and all those kind of things. I want to have a blessed life. So I'm going to, you know, spend some time with God and maybe do that thing, because then God will give me the prize that I want, a blessed life. Or maybe it's just not going to hell. Right? Maybe that's your prize. Maybe you're like, you know what, I've heard the stories and I know how it all works. And if I just go to church and do the things I'm supposed to do, hopefully, in the end, God will give me the prize of not burning in hell forever. That would be nice, right? Like, maybe that's your mindset. But God really kind of comes to Abram and goes, look, the goal is not about getting something from me. The goal is me. I'm the goal. I'm the end. I'm the prize that you're going to get, Abram, if you listen to me, if you follow me, if you have faith in me. It's not about getting something from me. It's about me. That's amazing. And that's a truth that I think God wants to remind us every day. It's not about what you can get from Him. It's about getting Him, knowing Him, and having a relationship with Him. That's what we lost in the fall. And that's what God wants us to have back. It's Him. It's Himself. And He says this in verse 5. Verse 5, chapter 15. It says, He took him outside, and He said, look up at the heavens and count the stars, if indeed you can count them. And then He said to him, so shall your offspring be. So shall your offspring be. So God shows up in this guy's life, Abram, a wealthy man from hundreds of miles away from where he is currently, who barely knew God, a man who actually had no children of his own. Okay, Abram had no children. His wife was barren. And He puts them in this new land. And He tells them, this is going to be your land, all right? And then I want you to look at the stars in the sky, and I want you to try to count them. And in fact, you who have no kids, I'm going to give you more descendants than all the stars that you can count in the sky. Like, this is out of your mind kind of crazy, right? This is insane. God is telling Abram this. And the question has to be, why? Like, why is God doing this for me? Why? You know, Abram had to be asking that question. Why is He doing this? Here's the answer. Because God cares about humanity. Okay? Look, God cares about this continuum. God cares about what's going on. God cares about that moment when we lost the life that we're supposed to have in Him. God cares about the fact that we are separated from Him. God cares about all that stuff. Guys, the truth is, God cares about you. He cares about sinful people. He cares about this messed up world. I don't know why He cares about it, but He does. He cares about you and He cares about me, even though we make mistakes, even though we fall short of who He is and His glory. He cares. He really does. And when He showed up to Abram and He made him that promise of, I'm going to make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and in Genesis 12:3, when He told him, I'm going to bless the entire world through you, do you realize He was making a promise thousands of years ago that was about you? In the Bible, when you read Genesis 12:3, when you read Genesis 15:5, you can circle that verse and say, this is about me. God was making a promise about me, to me, thousands of years ago. That's pretty cool. God was talking to you way before you even existed. He was talking to you. This is a promise about you. I'm going to bless everybody through you. And how is He going to bless everybody through Abram? Well, Abram did end up having a son. His name was Isaac. Isaac had a son whose name was Jacob, who would later be called Israel. Israel had 12 sons, one of whom was Judah. Judah had sons, and those sons had sons, and those sons had sons, and kept having sons until eventually this son came along named David. He was a king. David had a son named Solomon. Solomon had a son who had a son who had a son who had a son who had a son that kept going. And so eventually there was one son born one night who changed everything. Who changed history. Who changed eternity for all of us. We're getting ahead of ourselves. We're not there yet. So, verse 6, he says this. Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him. That's a hard word. Credited it to him as righteousness. Now, what does righteousness mean? Righteousness means you're not guilty. Okay, righteousness means you have a right standing before God. So, Abram just simply believed in God, and God said, now because you believe in me, because you trust in what I'm telling you, you can have a relationship with me. That's what he's telling Abram. Okay? You can walk with me, you can talk with me, you can have fellowship with me because you trust in me, you have faith in me, you believe in what I'm saying. Abram, you're good. You're going to walk with me. I'm going to show you some amazing things here. Essentially, God was saying to Abraham, I'm going to allow you to know me. I'm going to allow you to walk with me. I'm going to allow you to have a relationship with me. How amazing is this? How amazing is it that Abram literally did nothing to earn this from God? Abram actually did zero to get to this point in his relationship with God. God did everything. God made the promise. God initiated the relationship. Abram didn't perform for God. Abram had nothing to offer to God. God didn't need Abram's livestock, his cattle, his whatever. He didn't need any of that stuff. He just brought Abram, just picked this guy out, said, I'm going to put you in this land, and after I put you in this land, I'm going to tell you some stuff, I'm going to make you some promises. And Abram believed him, and God said, all right, you're good. We're good. We have a relationship. I'm giving you righteousness. I'm allowing you to stand in my presence. Look, you don't have to perform for God. All right? Abram didn't perform for God. He didn't do anything really for God. God just said, I'm calling you out because I love you. And that's amazing. So just to recap, so basically, God is amazing. He pulls this guy out. He takes him to this land. He makes him a promise. I'm going to bless everybody through you. I'm going to be your prize at the end. Abram believed him. God gave him righteousness. God allowed him to be in his presence because Abram believed him. You know what? I think it would have just been enough, and it would have been okay, honestly, if God had gotten to this point in the fall and just said, you know what? Forget humanity. I don't care about you guys anymore. You guys are jacked up, and I don't even want to be part of what you got going on down there. I'm going to do my own thing. You guys do you, and you'll all go to hell. It'll be great. You know, like God could have done that. But he didn't. He didn't leave us alone to do this by ourselves. Those of you who went on the ski trip a week ago now. So on the ski trip, if y'all don't know this story, if you haven't heard yet, on our way up there, on our way to the ski trip, so we're riding the big old yellow bus out there, and the bus is actually doing pretty good. It's running fine and all that good stuff, and we're up in Virginia at the time. We're about 3 hours away. We should have been about 3 hours away. We'd had some issues, like the door was swinging open. It was about to snap itself off, so we had to stop at this Home Depot, fix the stupid thing, like all this. So we're like kind of behind schedule. We're really behind schedule. And like I said, we should have had about 3 hours left. So we're in Virginia. We're like getting there. We're doing all right. All of a sudden, like it gets dark. And I start to feel pretty cold. Like I'm just sitting in my seat and like all at once, I kind of notice like it's really cold in this bus. Like this is terrible. Like I'm just like shivering, like goosebumps and everything. I kind of started looking around. Everybody's just like bundled up in their seats, like blankets on. Like people started going to the back and getting their luggage, like putting their ski clothes on. Like one dude was wearing a weird onesie. It was crazy.